Good morning. Welcome to another week, another coffee. I've been so proud. Like, I've been doing so good. So actually, I'm just trying to get some stuff together. Look. Water. Nescafe Gold Espresso. Intense. Instant coffee. Because I did not have time. And I'm actually going to do a decent amount here. To do my cold brew last night and prep for this week. It's just been a lot going on. But this stuff, I don't do instant coffee, but this I do. This I do. So I've already done my water. Sorry for the clacking. Mix it up real quick. Hold on. Mix it up real good. Perfect. Oh, looks so good. Just made a mess. Not mean to make a mess. Sorry, guys. Let's put this right there. Now, okay, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna take a bigger cup, but for aesthetics, we're gonna use this one real quick. So, new bottle of the skinny sauces. If I can get it open. Y'all mind your business. Nobody else uses this with me. Okay. All right. Put the ice. Not it being hard. So, that together. Yo, this is not working with me today. This is a real Monday. What is going on? Okay, done. We have a little bit in here. Put a little bit. Okay. I like milk on my bottom when I'm doing milk, so I know some people will probably put on top. I put mine on the bottom. And also, just realized I don't want milk. I had wanted my shake, but that's okay. We'll go with what we have. There we go. So good. A little bit of salted caramel, 0 sugar, 0 calories. Put a little bit of that in there. Look how pretty this is. So pretty. And actually, I think I'm gonna add some of my shake. I'm sorry, my head was cut off. Also, just got my hair retightened recently. Looks nice and neat, but my hair was all folded up in my sleep cap because I do not sleep without something in my hair because we trying to preserve our hair, ladies. Now where's my top? I mean, my top. Oh, that looks so pretty. That's good. The milk and the shake, really, really good. Really, really good. I'm impressed with myself. Okay, so that's it. Coffee's done. Time to go to work. I'll see y'all in the car. Bye. Okay. We're in the car. We're in the car. We've had coffee, at least a sip or few. What does that mean? A few sips of the coffee. Let's say that. A few sips of the coffee. And we're headed to work. So yay. I'm excited. It's another week. And you already know what it is. We are going to have some pretty good coffee together, some word together. We're going to chat it up, all the things. So if you're ready to do that, and while I get my hair to loosen up a little bit, I want you to grab your word, to grab your coffee. Remember, I told y'all the other cup was for aesthetics. I need all the coffee. And let's get started. Okay. It's almost there. It's almost there. Gotta get it to loosen up a bit. I don't really do the middle part, so I'm trying to get it to loosen up so I can flip it a little bit. I'm trying to flip it a little bit, but it's not gonna stay right now because, like I said, it was just recently done, so it's very much so parted, very much so neat and clean, which shout out to Khadijah, thank you. But as you can see, like, because of that, like, it isn't gonna stay, if that makes sense, in my usual flip to the side, which is fine. It's really not a big deal, y'all. I'm just being dramatic. I'm really being dramatic right now. So anyways, let's just move on because we got things to do. So the coffee, we already talked about it. We did the Nespresso, and it was the Intense, and it is really, really, really good. For an instant coffee, it is really good. Very smooth, no bitter aftertaste. It is definitely an espresso in terms of it is stronger, it is bolder, it has an underscore of the chocolatey taste. It has a little bit of a fruitiness to it. And I think I've mentioned, I don't know if I talked about this in the vlog, but yeah, there's a little bit of a fruitiness to it. I'm not really sure what that is. It's almost like fig, but you know, that's just neither here nor there. But it's really good. It's really, really good. Okay. And then I did almond milk, unsweetened, unflavored, so it's just plain almond milk. And I did the French vanilla max protein shake, which is 1 gram of sugar, 150 calories, and 30 grams of protein. And then I did the 0 calories, 0 sugar, salted caramel syrup, as well as the caramel sauce. Okay, really, really good. If you like the salted, not salted, if you like the caramel macchiatos from Starbucks or Dunkin', this is a way to get close to that. Okay, now let's get into this word. Let's get into this word as I'm trying to continue to fuss with my hair. Which I said I was gonna leave alone. We're gonna do Nehemiah 2. Y'all know, if, well, some of you may not know, Nehemiah is my favorite book in the Bible. It is my favorite book in the Bible for numerous reasons. I typically read it every year, multiple times a year, because I believe that there's revelation that you can get at any time. Just because you've read it once doesn't mean that you've read it fully, because again, it's a living word, and just like it takes more than one date with you to get to know you, it takes more than one date with God and his word to get to know him. Okay, so I read it multiple times. And hold that thought. All right, so Nehemiah 2, and we're gonna do verse 4. And this is after he had learned of the wall of Jerusalem being torn down, that they were vulnerable, the Israelites were vulnerable to enemies, that areas had been desecrated within the holy city, like a lot of things. And his soul was grieved, and he was a cupbearer at this time. Okay, and he served King Artaxerxes. he served King Artaxerxes. So he wasn't even in Jerusalem. Nehemiah was not even in Jerusalem, but he had heard the reports, and his soul was so grieved that for days he mourned before God and cried out before God. And he was reminding God of certain things like, hey, remember what you told Moses. This is in chapter 1. Remember what you told Moses, that even though your people will turn away from you, they'll do things that hurt your heart, but if they will turn back to you, you will be sure to rescue them. And so, God, I confess my sins. I confess all of our sins as a people, and I ask that you give us peace. I ask that you give us forgiveness. And he cried out to God for days about that. So now we're in chapter 2, and he knew that what the Lord had told him, that he was going to go and rebuild the city. It was his desire to go rebuild the city, and he prayed that the Lord would give him release to do so. And so he goes before the king, and he's looking a little sad, and the king's like, I've never seen you sad. What's going on with you? Is you sick? What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? And that's a word in and of itself. There are situations that you're in with people that may not be believers, that may not look like they have any connection the way that you have with your faith, but understand that they're still put in place to look out for you. God can use who he wants, how he wants. And so sometimes we overlook certain things, like, why does God have me here? Because there's certain protections there. There's people that are going to pay attention to you in the way that others wouldn't. And so the Lord has placed you in this place for this season, for a specific assignment, and for the people that will help you to complete it. Okay? And again, they may not be the ones that you thought. But King Artaxerxes, he noticed something. He was like, what's wrong with you? What do I need to do to get you back to where you need to be? Like, what's going on? How can I help you? How can I help you? And that's when we get down to verse 4. He was, Nehemiah was scared. He was in front of the king, but he was nervous. He had fear within him. But he said, the king said, what is your request? What is your request? Nehemiah said, so I prayed to the God. Hold on, let me park. Because what we're not going to do is hit nobody's car. So I prayed to the God of the heavens and answered the king. If it pleases the king, and if your servant has found favor with you, send me to Judah and to the city where my ancestors are buried, so that I may rebuild it. Then the king asked me, what is your request? So I prayed to the God of the heavens and answered the king, if it pleases the king, and if your servant has found favor with you, send me to Judah and to the city where my ancestors are buried, so that I may rebuild it. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm back. And obviously I'm not parked anymore. But that's okay. Had to run an errand. But where we left off, we're in Nehemiah 2. This is the CSB version, verses 4 through 5. And I gave you all the background history. And basically, the king was asking him, what's your request? And so before Nehemiah responded, he prayed to God. And then he answered, if it pleases the king, and if your servant has found favor with you, send me to Judah and to the city where my ancestors are buried, so that I may rebuild it. And I have a quick word for you that the Holy Spirit gave me. And I've talked about Nehemiah before. I'm sure that I've talked about this verse before. But again, like I said earlier, when you're in relationship with God and when you're developing your language, the way you communicate with him, you're going to dive deeper into the word. There's always going to be greater revelation for you if you take the time to discover it. Okay? But here's the thing. So there's a couple of things that I want you to catch here. One, the Lord had placed him in a place where this person was not saved, did not worship the same God, no nothing, but he was in a position to care for and look out for Nehemiah. The Lord had placed Nehemiah on his heart. But it was also because Nehemiah did his job well. But there's also this part when the king asked him, what is it that you request? Before Nehemiah opened his mouth, he prayed to God, even though he knew what his request was and he knew what the Lord was releasing him to do. He still engaged God in the moment. And this is so important because sometimes we get a word from God, we get a vision, we get a revelation, and then we jump without engaging him on how to say the thing, do the thing, effectuate the thing. And so we miss being effective in the thing. Because we heard the word, but we didn't ask God for strategy. We didn't ask God for how to implement it. And so we miss the moment. we missed the moment. Sorry guys, I'm trying to watch this traffic. We missed the moment. And that's so key, because again, he already knew what his request was. He knew what the Lord had released him to do, but he still engaged God before he opened his mouth. And then what he said, if I please you and if I found favor with you. That's another thing. The Lord is going to make it so that when you seek him first, when you engage him first, when you do things as though it is unto him and not unto man, you will find favor with man. And it sounds crazy, but understand, God's math ain't our math. Okay? When you put God first, when you seek him, when you humble yourself before him, when you submit to him, when you're only about his business and his plan, you will ultimately find favor with people that people don't understand how you found favor with them. It'll be like, what? Why is she in this room? Why are they having these conversations? Why is she getting this type of access? Why are these opportunities opening up for her? It's because you have found favor with God, and he has put that same favor into someone else's heart concerning you. It's the same. It's going to trickle down. It's going to trickle down, because understand, he's a cupbearer. He's not a builder. He's a cupbearer. But the Lord had given him an assignment, and he engaged God and said, what's the strategy here? How do I get to where you want me to be? It's not about where I am, but where do you want me to be? How do I get there? And he has to ask this person to release him to go back to a city where his ancestors are buried, to rebuild it. He's a cupbearer. That's not his job. He essentially belongs to the king, but he's saying, let me out of your sight. His people had grieved the Lord, but he said, Lord, listen, I'm going to ask for forgiveness for me and for them, because I want to be found worthy to fix the issue. Yeah, you got to get to a place where you understand that if you focus on your relationship with God, if you develop that, if you engage him in every moment, even when you've already gotten the vision, it's going to change everything. It's going to change everything. Your timeline is going to change, because not only then did our instructions say, oh, okay, well, how long is it going to take you? He told him how, no problem. Then he said, well, I'm going to need some protection. I need you to give me some written word that I'm allowed to travel like this. No problem. What? What? But it's because if you go back, he's in the first chapter, he started with repentance. He started with asking for forgiveness. He started out with laying the offenses before God and saying, listen, God, I know what I have done. I know what my people have done, but I'm going to remind you of your word. And this is also why it's important to consistently develop your relationship with him, which again is also diving deeper into the word, praying, fasting, consecrating, removing distractions, doing the things that the Lord is calling you to do over what people are telling you to do, right? Like this is important, okay? This is really, really important, because he was able to call out the word that the Lord had already released. He said, you said to Moses, this is what you said. So I'm calling that forth, because I understand that once your word is dispatched, it has to be honored. It has to be honored. And the only way he would know that is if he knew the word, is if he studied the word, is if he was studying his relationship with God. And so he could call it out and say, hey, these are the things that you have said. These are the things that I'm going to call back to your remembrance. And because I'm going to do that, you've got to make sure that you honor that, because I'm also going to follow through with the instructions within that word. Because it's not just telling God about what he said, but it's also acknowledging what God said to you to do, right? And so many of us will see the thing, we'll call out the thing, we'll say, God, you placed this on my heart. You know, God, I know that you want to do this, but we don't acknowledge the own work that we have to do. We don't acknowledge that. And we don't engage God in a way of saying, hey, I'm seeing this. I know that you've released this information to me, or I know that your heart is grieved about this and I want to fix this, and all the things. But we don't actually ask God how to do that. And then when we know the thing, we don't do the thing, because we want it to be immediate, or we want it to be, well, there's no problem with me. And I'm just calling you out on your word. You said you're going to do this, so you do that, God. All this other stuff I don't need to do. We've got to humble and submit ourselves Because understand this, sometimes you're going to be placed in areas and seasons that don't make sense. He was a cupbearer away from his people. He was a part of the remnant that did not go back. They did not go back to Judah. They did not go back to Jerusalem. He was a part of that remnant. He stayed behind with Artaxerxes, he and his family. Okay? And it's going to seem like, well, what? God is sometimes going to have you in seasons and in places that you're going to feel like, why am I here? You're there because you are going to be the door to fix the thing if you will do what God says, when he says it, how he says it. And the only way to do that is to engage him, to ask him. The only way to do it in a way that's effective is so that you find favor with him. And the favor that you find with him, he'll place on the hearts of others to open the doors for you. They'll be the ones to fund you. They'll be the ones to promote you. They'll be the ones to push you. They'll be the ones to protect you. They'll be the ones to fight for you. You don't have to do any of that. But so many times we get ahead of ourselves and we don't ask God. We just have the vision and we think that that's enough. You need the strategy. You need the strategy. You need the strategy. And the strategy comes by engaging God before you do anything else. Because he knew the vision. He knew what he was released to do. He knew the assignment that was on his heart. But he still prayed before he responded to Artaxerxes. He still prayed. He still prayed. There are so many disruptors that are rising up even now. But some of them are going to miss the mark because they're going to want to do the disruption without the submission. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. To be an effective disruptor, you have got to be submitted. Because a disruptor is also a builder. It's also a builder. Understand, Nehemiah disrupted what was happening, because when he went back there, he stopped them from doing the things that they were doing. He called them back into order. He brought them back into order. He disrupted their normal routines, their thought practices, their rituals, all of that. He stopped all of that. Hold on, T is calling me. Hold on. And so that's important. But he also, because he was disrupting, he was also called to build. He was called to rebuild. That's what a disruptor is going to do. Don't miss the mark. Don't miss the mark. So this is Nehemiah 2 verses 4 and 5, CSB version. Music's beside me. Listen, I'm gonna go. I hope y'all hold this in your heart. Make sure that you have some pretty good coffee. Make sure you dive into this word. Make sure that you register for the All the Things experience happening October 19th. If you came to the Last Supper experience, you know what I'm talking about. We're going up. We're going up. We're going up. And I do not want you to miss it. We have very limited seats. I'm going to feed you. We're going to have worship. We're going to have prayer. We're going to have teaching. But y'all, this is a night of consecration. This is not like anything else that we do. This is really important because it sets the foundation as we head into conference season. We set the tone. We set the tone. So I don't want you to forget October 19th, heyprettylife.com to register, and register for the Hey Pretty conference at heyprettylife.com. Conference is going to be incredible. We have some amazing speakers coming. We're also offering a teen track and an all men session, as in the men only get to go to this session. Listen, we're pulling out all the stops for West Palm Beach, but it is because the Lord has us on assignment that requires more of us. It requires more of us. So go to heyprettylife.com and let's get ready to make it a good week. All right, y'all. See you later.